As I was reviewing some Star Wars ripoffs a while back, like Messages from Space and Battle Beyond the Stars, I was told about another movie that supposedly was also a really big Star Wars ripoff called Eragon. What I came to find was not only is it a big Star Wars ripoff, but it's also one of the biggest ripoffs of Lord of the Rings I've ever seen as well. So it's really a double whammy. It was written by Christopher Paolini, who was only 16, and it looks like he just threw together two of his favorite franchises in an attempt to make an epic series, but it comes off more as a poor imitation. The special effects in the film attempt to capture the grand scale of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, but end up just looking second-rate when compared side to side. So anyway, let's just cut right to the chase. What does it steal from Star Wars, and what does it steal from Lord of the Rings? I'm going to go down the list and mention everything that I noticed while watching that looked like it was stolen. Let's do Lord of the Rings first. Now, Eragon came out in 2006, and the last film in the Rings trilogy, Return of the King, was in 2003. So Eragon takes full advantage, stealing elements from all the films of the trilogy. I guess the best place to start is with the name of the movie itself.
Eragon.
Eragon.
Well, it sounds just like Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen's character from Lord of the Rings. In this film, Eragon has a pet dragon, and they're closely bonded together. If Eragon were to die, the dragon would die, and so forth. The first time Eragon touches the dragon, it seems to send out sort of a message, getting the attention of the bad guys. It's just like when Frodo would put on the Ring of Power, it would always alert Sauron. During one scene early on, the princess character does some sort of magic spell. I found that to be extremely similar to how Arwen did her spell that brought the water down the river while trying to save Frodo. And then there's the villain, Durza. He's like a combination of the two bad guys from Lord of the Rings. His appearance looks just like Brad Dourif as Wormtongue. That casting had to be deliberate. He also has magic powers like a wizard, and some scenes are almost identical to things Christopher Lee did as Saruman. Now, there's more stuff I could point out, but you get the idea. Watching this thing is almost like having Gollum barf up some leftover footage onto your screen. This movie doesn't take place in outer space. It's a fantasy film, not a sci-fi film. So what it steals from Star Wars isn't quite as noticeable. The ripping off from Star Wars comes more in the way of plot structure than visuals. The head bad guy of the film, played by John Malkovich, is basically like the Emperor. What makes him so evil? Well, long ago he destroyed most of the Dragon Riders. They were the force of good in the land, so you can kind of think of the Dragon Riders as the equivalent of the Jedi.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.
The main character, Eragon, begins as a simple farm boy, just like Luke Skywalker, and during one moment, he's sad about his brother leaving and he's staring off into the sky, which blatantly copies that classic moment with Luke gazing at the sunset, minus the twin suns. Eragon ends up meeting a village bum who turns out to be the forgotten old dragon rider, and there we have this film's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Magic must be your last resort.
Who teaches Eragon how to use the Force? Magic.
The Force will be with you, always.
And that guy I mentioned earlier that looks like Wormtongue is the Emperor's right-hand man, which makes him this film's Darth Vader wannabe. Of course, he doesn't visually look like Darth Vader. Remember, I'm just talking plot structure here. So, Durza, sends out his marauders, and they kill Eragon's uncle back at the farm. And what's Durza's main objective anyway? It's to locate a place called Varden, which is this movie's hidden rebel base. Oh, and by the way, yeah, he also tortures a princess to find out where the location of the base is.
And now, Your Highness, we will discuss the location of your hidden rebel base.
Yes, every single plot element from Star Wars is there. There's even a guy who keeps saving Eragon's life, just like how Han Solo would always rescue Luke Skywalker.
I have you now.
So, there you go. This has to be one of the biggest rip-offs of anything I've ever seen in my whole life.
Thanks. Again. No mention.
That's two, you owe me, Junior.
There's a line between inspiration and flat-out copying, and this movie crosses that line way too many times. For me, I found it to be a pretty disgusting knockoff, doing everything it could to cash in on already established successful franchises. I just wanted to briefly bring some attention to the movie so everybody can remember for a second what a crappy counterfeit it was. All I can really say is, I'm glad that everybody was smart enough to see right through this unoriginal imitation. The fact that there was never an Eragon 2 says that there is some hope for humanity.